Good morning. This is the July 1st, 2023 meeting for SNARS. And if we can, thank you. We have a special guest from the National Weather Service out of Reno, Amanda Young. I'm just going to say the National Weather Service in Reno has been super supportive of the ham community. I reached out. The way we got hold of them was there was a weather event with a whole lot of hail, and somebody called it on the radio, and I patched it in, and we called over there. So that made me realize, wow, maybe we can have somebody talk. So Amanda is going to talk for about a half hour about some of these crazy weather patterns we've been having that everybody wants to know about, and a little bit about Skywarn, and then we'll do about 10 minutes of Q&A. So this is Amanda Young. Feel free to introduce yourself. Thank you.
Thank you, Barry. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Amanda Young here at the National Weather Service. And I'm going to be giving you a little bit of brief. It's not really Skywarn and weather patterns. It'll actually be about the snow we had here this last winter, up here through the end, up here to spring. And then believe it or not, we're actually getting some, summer temps today here, and as well as tomorrow. So I'm going to go a little bit of Skywarn right after that. Wow. You think it's, once in a career situation here, and you say, wow. And which is not. I actually had 5 trips to Antarctica. I've seen weather a lot worse than what we've seen here. But this was, heck of a season, winter season, and record snows. Oh, yes, broke a lot of records. So I'm going to touch base on this, try to answer any questions, and feel free if you have any specific questions, just please speak up, please ask. Like I said, winter is over, bring on the summer.
Question over here.
Yeah, what's that?
Okay, this winter, I took a picture of Mount Rose Slide Mountain, and I compared it to a picture that I took in 2011, I'm sorry. And back then, this was at the same time of the year, and it's field day. And back then, in 2011, there was more snow on Mount Rose and Slide Mountain than there was this year.
I can't really substantiate that, but if pictures are comparison, I love to see it.
Pictures show.
Yeah, I'm just, the data we collect is from snow tells as well as they take manual measurements. So, and this year, believe it or not, from our data here, this has probably been one of the snowiest we've had in some time. And I have some slides they'll show you here. They'll probably help out a little bit with this. This slide here shows the number of atmospheric, very strong, extreme atmospheric rivers we had here. It's unprecedented for any single year to have this many stronger atmospheric rivers affecting the West Coast. No. This will probably answer your question a little bit better here in terms of snowfall here. If we look at November and through March or 2023 here, the dark green there is showing, well above average rainfall for our region here. And if you look to the right, the other slide there shows, lots of blue there, which means we had unprecedented colder temperatures, anomalously colder temperatures for this time of the year as well for winter. Making a comparison here from 2023 to 2017, as you can see here, we have much more darker green, more, a larger area of anomalies here in terms of precipitation as compared to 2017. You compare the temperature, which on the bottom with from 2023 to 2017 here, you'll notice that the temperatures were much, much colder this past season here than they were in 2017. And in some subsequent slides here, I'll explain the reason why. Number of days we had temperature 65 degrees in Reno between November and April, 0, first time since 1894. Normally, we have 23 such days during that period of time. Minden's 24-hour precip of 4.64 was unprecedented for, for New Year's, for 1 day precipitation, and it broke a record of held since 1906, since the San Francisco earthquake. And then Elko had 4th highest snowfall, 72.4 inches, and that record's held since 1890. I can kind of substantiate that because I actually worked at Elko office for a year. So I'm pretty familiar with the area. Looking at this slide, you notice, and let me point it out here. Excuse my pointer. If you look all along the crest here, you see a lot of blue on here, which is showing that records have been set all across the Sierra Crest, Northeast California, into Sierra Front, into Eastern Sierra. Like I said, this year was unprecedented for any other year, at least in terms of snow. Most of the measurements, this was actually measurements taken in the Earth. A lot of them were manual measurements. Most of the stations here, records that held up for half a century, almost a century, were broken.
We're stuck in here.
Yeah. Mount Rose snowpack number 3, and that's for a record it held for 112 years. And then the Ruby Mountains, Ruby Canyon, this was the high snowfall, and it's for a record here. Now it's number 1 snowfall, and that record is a 91-year-old record. Yes.
Mammoth, they go farther south. I think I've heard they had like 300% snow or something.
Some areas were almost like 4%. Yeah. We're talking some really phenomenal snow water, especially in the Eastern Sierra. And I'll probably touch a little bit on floods. I want to put a disclaimer. I'm not a hydrologist, I'm a meteorologist. I do the best I can at this, but I do learn. So I'm a quick learner. Now, this is a snow water equivalent here for this year. As you notice here, we got a lot of purples across, the lower elevation areas. And that's showing we have lower elevation snow, which is not enough because we have the anomalous colder temperatures. So naturally, we're going to have a considerable amount of lower elevation snow as well as upper elevation snow. This is from 2017, very little low left. The temperatures were a little slightly warmer. It was a little colder in the upper elevations. Did have some significant snowfall and snow water equivalent amounts up in that, the higher elevation areas of the Sierra. So it shows the scope of what this winter we just went through. More synonymous with the Midwest and West Coast of the United States. But we do live in a Great Basin, so we do have this. Touch a little bit here, just what we're going to expect here. This is seasonal temperature outlook, and this for 3-month period, July, August, September here. We're showing above average temperatures and pretty much even with seasonal precipitation outlook for our home area. Right now, like I said here, if you pie chart probably can highlight that idea that we have warmer temperatures. At least that's what the climate center is actually putting out. And then we have even chance of precipitation, which is pretty much telling me here we're going to have above normal temperatures, but we're still going to have thunderstorms. A lot of this because of all the moisture we had here over the last winter. So, and then, okay.
That every day we have.
Well, believe me, in our office here, it's a little busy in our office with that thunders. So, and my anticipation in terms of thunderstorms, we're going to have a greater number of thunderstorm days, and thunderstorms are going to be a little stronger. We may even have more severe, thunderstorms. couple weeks ago, I was working swing shift. We had a thunderstorm pop up out of nowhere in northern Alaska County, and that's when I tracked. And I'll often having spotters on the ground, which I'll, elaborate a little bit more in Skywarn and later on in the presentation, really would help to try to make you to verify where there was. Most of precipitation have a lot of moisture. At least right now, at this moment. We'll see how much is left after several days. Then we have to do the firewood. That's another story altogether. But anyway, here I had to get some verification on that one thunderstorm. I had to call up a friend here who's one of the fire captains there for Fed Fire up in one of the districts up in California, and one of his fellow firefighters up in that area, and actually was able to give me a report of what they actually do. So having spotters on the ground really helps. Now, probably going to ask yourself, now this is data from Lovelock from Derby Field. Usually you say the number of days here, temperature greater than 100 degrees here. Normally in our high snowfall years here, we usually don't have a greater number of 100 degree days here. And as you can see here, 2017, 2019, we're roughly the minimum, so the number of 100 degree days that we would actually have in our area. While snow and wet ground tends to dampen heat wave potential, at least early in the summer season, once things dry out, if anybody's gets. And we're expecting temperatures 100 degrees here, at least in the Reno area, and again tomorrow. So there's a good chance we can have those temperatures. All streams and rivers will be high, cold, and fast going into the summer, and specifically for the Walker Basin, which is eastern Sierra, south of Lake Tahoe, Reno County, like we just talked about earlier. Those creeks and streams will be running fast and cold here at some time. Flooding remains a big concern, and like I mentioned, the Walker Basin. We put out a weekly or bi-weekly freak out, brief, and week-long heat wave or a rare multi-day heavy rain event here is something we have to focus on here, mostly because all the snowfall with the heavy rainfall adds to a flash flood potential. Snowpack concerns are cyclical. This is one thing I didn't know when I learned this during hydrology, is that during the nighttime and early morning hours is when we usually see our peaks in our springs, and because the snow melts, that's when we see the peaks in our at least in terms
And Ryan's gonna come over, we're all gonna have lunch.
We're at it.
Here,
Get this house.
yeah,
Lakes reservoirs will be fuller than in recent years.
yeah.
I live just a few miles from the Hahn Reservoir. I actually live in Fallon, and I commute here, and I don't stay here. So I'm very familiar with that lake. And they had actually, closed the spillways, and actually more than spillways to fill the lake. It was up in the 5% capacity. Now they're starting to release because they got too much water. And that's a compensate for the Carson basin there and the amount of snow that's actually there. Seasonal high elevation roads will open much later than normal. Snow sections and mountain trails, snow will linger along those sections there for some time. Now, I kind of like this graph here. This one shows the forecast seasonal volume for snowfall equivalent in the area. And as you notice, this is an annual. There's 400% there. See it right here. Barely see it, but there was a 400%. So it had 4 times. That's a mono count, but it is coming down quickly. This is graph here. This graph here just shows the cyclical nature of over certain temporal period here, and this is for the Humboldt River over Inland. We actually monitor that coming out of the Humboldt Basin, and it's a little bit above average. Now, if we look over one of the stations and pretty close to us, and this one here is going to be on the Carson River. we have unprecedented, flows, spring flows here this year, just because of the amount of snowfall this year and then the amount of water is actually flowing through the basin. This is for the West Walker. This is from last month. As you see the peak there in terms of spring flows as well as heights. And now it's actually, at least for the Walker, we're expecting a peak to occur here pretty soon. And this week because of the high temperatures, higher elevation, high temperature, the higher elevation. And this is for Humboldt at Lake. We're expecting it to, crest about, Lake Paralaska, actually, Lake June, and it's just cresting. Yeah. Now, this one here is a good, this graphic here actually shows, kind of gives us a good idea how well we're dealing with the drought. And if you notice the little, forgive me here, I'm a little colorblind, so if you see, if you see the colors really well, then you'll be able to understand how important it is. Anywhere you see the blues and the green and then blue colors here, it means that the potential flood stage potential, above flood stage potential is high. It's above average that we would normally see. If you use this, it's a good indicator in terms of how well the drought is going. This is September 22nd here. 100%, pretty much 100% of all Nevada was some kind of severe drought, or some kind of drought conditions. As of June, hardly anything, very little, less than 20%, just because of the snowfall. But even though we have a high snowfall year, it does change. This would be more anomalous of anything, because next year we may, do the usual and dry out. So this year was very, very beneficial, this is, nice to be able to have the snowfall we had in the area. Now I'm going to jump into the fire a little bit, into the fire part of the report, at least like what we're seeing here in terms of its snowfall here across the Sierras and across the region. This is 2019. This is the last time we had some good heavy snowfall. Very little fire activity. 17. Most of fire activity was over in the basin, over in western Nevada, the desert. And very little across the alpine area. And again, 2011, another high snow year, and most activity fell down in the lower elevation. And then 2006, same thing. Looking at, because we had, above average snowfall in the lower elevations, that means grasses, short, we're along faster, a little bit, we'll have a little bit more grasses across the lower elevation areas of western Nevada. So we're kind of expecting fire danger actually shift from the mountains that we've had here recently over the last couple of years to go into the lower valley areas, lower basin areas, just because of the amount of grass that we grow. The increase in the amount of foliage is growing in this area because of the unprecedented lower elevations. Sure, fire activity normally limited at the late or in big snow winter. Drought Creek Hill adds a huge wild card. Great Basin areas would be more active, like I mentioned before, because the fuels and grasses, are right now cured because we have higher temperatures moving into the area, but it's still not a guarantee. A little bit on the tree kill. There's a significant number of trees up in the alpine areas of Sierra Nevada. So that kind of adds to the wild card. Even though we had a lot of snow up there, a lot of moisture, we still could get some big fires up in the timber areas there. These graphs here show pretty much, whether above or below average. Green is going to show below average for fire, significant wildland fire activity. Reds are going to be above average. And if you notice in the Sierras here, June, July, August, even into September, it's going to be below normal. So we're that's what they're expecting, at least out of the fire seasons.
I have a question. It's not me that we won't necessarily have smoke to come in, if there were fires somewhere else, like Yosemite or Reservoir, where we could get like we're supposed to down here. No,
That would have, yes.
could be, we could have smoke without fires.
Well, this is the way, the upper levels have been situated here in the northern hemisphere. The fires up in Alberta, Saskatchewan, and the smoke is actually except, the tremendous amount of debris, smoke is going into the East Coast because the upper levels have favored the smoke in that area. Normally in the summertime, we'll end up having a monsoonal pattern. So winds over our area are going to be, the upper winds are going to be mostly out of south. There'll be a southerly direction from southwest to southeast, or some sort of southerly component. So any fires out in California, then we would end up getting smoke. But because the upper patterns a little different, more of a springtime pattern. A lot of smoke come up in those northern areas there, actually southern areas of Canada is actually driven over the coast. So they're getting most of the smoke from Norway. So they're getting a little, we're sharing, sharing the wealth a little bit with the rest of the nation. Green below normal and Sierra, first time in many years. Sierra will be later and or below normal for large fires. Drought stress trees still a concern, like I mentioned before. They have another amount of dead trees up in the areas, alpine areas. Great Basin will be near normal. Wet winter equals more grass to burn, which means the farmers down in that area feel the farmer getting their cows out of like the BLM trying to fires out. Any questions so far? I had to throw this one out there. I was kind of expecting it to snow on the 4th of July here. I just didn't have these things have so hard to take it off, so I left it up there. I got 100 degrees. I would have, a little bit of a mini heat wave. It's not really a heat wave. We're getting more summer temperatures. It's going to be a great contrast.
Amanda, I have this question. Back in May or so, it could be off a little bit. Big cyclone or whatever they call it out in Asia Pacific. I'm curious, if how much have we had that wet, long, wet day? Do you know if any of that put this way and that caused all those amount of rain we have had? Rain in May and June. I don't know accumulation, but the average person in their day.
Now you're kind of drifting me into something. I am a little bit more familiar with that climatology, and teleconnections. Yes and no. The La Nina pattern is becoming more of a winter pattern. Usually in the La Nina pattern, we have colder than normal surface waters off through, and in that part of the Pacific. But on the West Pacific, warmer waters a little warmer, more convection. Because you're going to have more greater number of typhoons, strong storms. When the patterns start shifting, from the warmer, wetter Western Pacific and start getting out to the Eastern Pacific, these neutral patterns, and this is what I noticed. This is my observation. We see a large proportion of atmospheric rivers. A lot of the extensions of deep troughs, or very strong troughs that actually deepen into the tropical regions, which are very moist, a lot of moisture, warm, and then they pick up that moisture when they transport it up in our area. We had from November through March a number, several dozen very strong chaos, and they aided and abetted putting a lot of snow up in the Sierra. So they get the travel, adding to that winter feeding. Everybody loves a white Christmas, right?
Right.
Yeah, white April and May.
I was expecting a white July, believe it or not. Yeah, I never heard that. Yeah, the 4th of July, snow up in higher elevation. That's still not out of the question. It's still in that transition.
One other question over here, man.
What's that?
Dave's got a question.
Oh, yes. I can't really say hydraulics. I know that the ones I use up are full. Well, hot and reservoir full. Most of the top of Sierra are at their maximum capacity right now. Some things I've read in Eastern California, most of that area, the where their water resources, their lakes are full. There's so much, yeah. That's another story over here. Actually, we're right now, really gonna have Walker River. The dam up the Walker River. Yeah, then some, compromise soiling, so they're gonna be, what they call some kind of, it's like a little buffer, it's a block section of the dam that they will actually take bulldozers and block off, let the water flow out, kind of relieve it. So there's a lot of water in the Weber Reservoir, and they're gonna have quite a bit of water going into the water. Yes, the water is going up. I know that they had a small levee downstream that actually gave way in one house actually. Yeah. Residents had to move it.
Are they predicting that we're gonna be in the same cycle this next winter? Like,
I can't really say that for sure. I know that some, right now we are looking at summer being more like a summer, but a little bit cooler. Probably a lot less. With more.
does that mean we're gonna have an early winter, like a lot more snow again?
It depends upon how things situate out at least in terms, well, I use poor El Nino. Poor El Nino gets a bad rap every time. Usually we're gonna get it down with El Nino, usually in our areas it's a little warmer, but it also gets a lot warmer. So we'll see how this goes. It's a little too early to know that for sure. Right now it's a bit. And I already did enough there from where they call me a weather guy, so I don't want to get. Because the scientific problem here. Are there any other questions? Because I'm going to move on to Skywarn. Why be a spotter? How many are actually a spotter? Very. Anybody would like to be a spotter or weather spotter?
So about it first.
So how do
You go through a training, and I'm probably going to do this. So I'll be doing the training. You get to see me like that. So we do have courses one of the forecasters actually does, and there'll be something in a little bit later.
you give it? Oh, perfect.
It's about a 2-hour training. So
Got a little louder. Talk a little louder. Outdoor voice.
well, I gave you my Navy chief voice, but nobody wants to hear that.
Sergeant Major, believe me.
Oh,
They need it.
Marines?
I just want to say this is,
Oh, got it.
so this, I just want to say this is where this all started, as I mentioned in the beginning. One of the guys was up in Tahoe in the lobby. He said, big, huge rocks. Coming out of the sky, and I've had Skywarn spotted for years. All I remember is like abnormal. That's what. So he was driving, got him on the radio, connected, and that's what he did. She's going to talk a little bit about what the Skywarn program is and how we hams can get involved.
This is a very abbreviated part of the brief here. The actual Skywarn training is actually about 125 miles long. So, and a lot was more open.
Areas last year. Within the Skywarn.
Oh, you did, yeah. And most of brief is based on what's Las Vegas, but it's pretty close. We're all in the same state. We're all in the same team. So. Anyway, here, this slide here are showing some severe weather probabilities. This is for any severe weather probabilities, and this is actually slides from the Severe Prediction Center at Norman, Oklahoma. And then here's for hail probabilities. You notice here, most all this, probabilities are all situated from the Rocky Mountains eastward into, Ohio, Mississippi valleys. But it's not unusual that we do get severe weather here. We get severe winds, we get severe hail, 1 inch or above. And believe it or not, we do get tornadoes. We actually had 2 sightings outside of Elko, and then out a really flat sighting here. Similar within more. So this is the role here the spotters play, very vital role, decision, warning decision. It's nice to be able to have eyes on the ground to verify. What we see here, what the radar sees is just most of the cloud, and most of the dynamics of the cloud being understand in terms of how precipitation, most of or a lot of the shear, what we consider measurable cyclonic activity here, which is closer to genetic activity. And it's very important to get some ground. We want to be able to verify that and see what we're seeing on our radar and getting eyes on the ground to be able to help us. See, this is what we see on the radar. Now, this is another radar image from one of the stations on the East Coast. This is what you will see. This is actually a picture of the tornado that dropped outside of El Paso. Our tornadoes aren't like the gargantuans they have out there, Texas, Oklahoma, and eastward. But we do get them in here. They have a tendency to rip roofs off, move big trucks and hurt people. So, it's something that we always are very conscious of, especially when tracking severe weather here. Across the Sierra, back to the Sierra, it's up in Northeast California and across Western.
So that's,
Yeah, tornadoes here, just oversized dust devils.
okay.
But yeah, there's a little different dynamics with the dust devil versus a tornado. But I've seen some dust devils around here that would, even got raised my eyebrows, especially after the 40-mile desert out there in down there. Your reports are credible for to all. Add credibility to all the warnings. Taking action increases as the threat is perceived as real and imminent. Time, location, intensity. Everybody knows we have WSRB Doppler radar. And even though we have coverage, remember that radar is situated on top of it. So the beam goes out, even though we can drop the beam from 0, maybe a little bit, and that's the rates of the radar itself down maybe half a degree. We lose a lot of ground truth underneath that beam, a lot of balance. So that's what sparks, eyes on target, so to speak, here, what's going on, the local areas. And yes, those are hailstones that actually fall. Those hailstones fell up in Emerald Bay. And if you look at the date here, August 20th, 2017, that's the last time we had a big snow situation. Another big snow situation this month. So there's a possibility we may see some large hail, some more severe, stronger thunderstorms. I think we've already seen that already. I was actually on watch when they did one on the severe thunderstorm over Carson City, where they ended up with flash flood through into the Fandango parking lot. So we actually won that. And they had a considerable amount of hail that fell there. East side that week wasn't that big. Was that big, believe me, we would hear about it. The thing is here, in the Great Basin area where we do have a lot of hazards, lightning, hail, extreme heat, flash floods, microbursts, and as well as your dust storms. Now, the microbursts here, I kind of just focused on that as it's one of the things, more visible thing here for the wind threat. But there's other wind threats like dust threats and such, where we get some high winds in excess, 50 knots or 58 miles. 58 miles an hour and above is what we consider a severe level wind threats. And even a wind report. So that needs to differentiate between strong thunderstorms and severe thunderstorms. I'll go over a little bit here in each one of the hazards briefly. Oops. Yeah, this is an animation here, and this is where Google and Microsoft don't play. So it's an animation. But this is a really neat animation that shows the lightning across the skyline here. I'm usually trying to be kind of inquisitive, which is probably the bigger threat thing that has the highest probability of loss of life. Lightning or flooding or the hurricane. I think number one is hurricane. We do get large hail here. This is January 2016. This is up in Red Bluff, 3-inch hail, which is really necessary. Flash flooding is another potential hazard here that we have to be aware of. Like I mentioned to you about Carson City and flash flood, pretty much washed out a lot of the apartment and angle casino. So I'm sure there's some people there that didn't want to lose any of that. This picture here is from a flash flood which was down in the Las Vegas area. Sudden, fast-moving flood. Travel long distance away from the actual rainfall. Oh yeah, all the time. Coming across the Great Basin Desert Southwest. Oh, I've seen some good ones down in Arizona. Drainages, low water crossings and washes, flood quickly. And anytime I live in that area, we all do. And it's the number 2 related killer. And I believe it's like, some people argue whether it's what means light. And I think lightning is actually pretty good. Microburst equals damaging mass. And you see a long call from a lot of high-base thunderstorms. Usually you're going to have a microburst associated with it. They roll down trees and take out power lines. When I was working in civilian forecaster in the Maryland, remember the Department of Navy, we have a severe storm. Actually, wasn't a severe storm, it was a high-base thunderstorm. But it had a very strong microburst. That speeds the at least the surface when it hit. And it took out a quarter mile telephone pole along in and out, from US 95 to the base. They can be very strong and very dangerous. So the wind is actually, propagate out and then momentum force results. You get dust storms. Now this is Arizona, Death Valley, and then the dust storm in Reno. One of our biggest dust source regions. I've noticed this myself. It's observed here around the Black Rock Desert, 40-mile desert north of Fallon. And then there's another little areas. Anywhere there's a sink or a dry lake basin, it's usually the source region for flowing dust. We will get thunderstorms coming in the northeast, brought back the still waters going into the desert. We have winds in excess of 40 miles an hour, and we end up at the boots. I've actually seen several of them. Kind of reminiscent when it's first involved. Yeah.
I have to look.
And the thing is with the boots or dust storms around, especially around the thunderstorms where it's rapidly developing and dissipating ground drafts, especially a lot of the sand are very close coordinated communicated lower basin. Visibility can drop rapidly. It can go from unrestricted to dangerous. So it's one thing about and if you have a spotter, even as an operator, you can give us a call or other. One of our biggest injuries that we constantly to West Side trying to get some ground. Even using cameras on road.
Just a heads up, a few more minutes from here.
Oh, almost done here. Then you kind of look at all these hazards and say, wait a minute, this is thunderstorms. So I'm going to go a little bit about thunderstorms very briefly. Remember, no place outside is safe from the thunderstorm. So believe it or not, this one played good in Windows animation. What causes thunderstorms? 3 main ingredients: moisture, which is the source, we call it K. Buoyancy, which is instability, and lift. All those actually add to lift, and then we end up, either mountains, low pressure systems, or thunderstorm outflow, but also just surface heating. Severe thunderstorms are are unique to this area, but they do occur. And one very important ingredient is what we call wind shear. We have wind shear, but it does keep the whole columns from toppling down. The point here, we're not getting up and down with up, down, down. But the updraft actually is a self-feeding mechanism, and then the storm just keeps on developing and then continues. I want to go a little bit about watch and warning. Normally, when it comes to thunderstorms, you know, the Severe Prediction Center actually put out the thunderstorm. They'll look at all the different ingredients, which is the moisture points. And once it becomes a full sound, then you know, then we have a possibility that we have severe weather. And that's we can measure. Or tornado. And I'm just kind of broad brush. It's a little bit more. We do have advisories, which you know cause serious inconvenience. So watch times, location, timing uncertain. All the ingredients are there, not yet occurring. Warning. You got that full, you know, 4-boy sandwich, and then you have full-blown thunderstorms around here. Some of them can be severe. There's where I've seen severe thunderstorms, and most of these even like the Lassen, you know, Lassen County. We do get a few down here along, you know, the edge there, here, and then down in Mineral. Southern line. And then I mean, we go over down, you know, in the Churchill. We have different neighborhoods we can actually get warnings out. You know, we have NOAA radio, local news, mobile apps, social media. Social media is usually the big one here, you know, as well as the local media, and then the wireless alerts. That annoying sound here as well. You're saying, you know, we're right in the middle of the game, but afterward it's a decide to do it right when they get a grand slam or someone makes a big touchdown or makes a goal there. That happened when I was watching the guys going great, right in the middle, you know. All right, touch base about the monsoon, even though this is the Monument Valley in Arizona, 50% like it's Nevada out in the Fallon area. Along by there. Seasonal wind, which increase in non-moisture. Really, the monsoon is more a phenomenon. It's, you know, and then not just a single thing. We have the North American monsoon season, where it is the Arabic season. Monsoon means season, not a particular season. Average timeline is usually mid-June through September, which, you know, because of the snowfall, because our moisture, cooler temperatures, we're having probably the low chance of having a very spot. Some of the we'll probably will occur this past years. If you want a southwest monsoon, you'll have to go to India.
Or Phoenix.
Or the Philippines, which is pretty close. Which is the northeast monsoon. In the Philippines, it's the northeast monsoon, not the southwest. It's part of the southwest. And then old trusty chief forecast only the wrong thing. But I'll take your look. Yeah. Typical springtime pattern, drier to the north, we have moist, either continental or maritime tropical air, which actually comes off Gulf of California and Gulf of Mexico. We have good zonal flow. Because of all the thunderstorms we had and have late start in winter, this pattern actually is more of a springtime pattern, actually settled over the western United States.
Could this be, let me ask you a question, could this be a good stopping point to see maybe if we want to do another Skywarn training with people?
Yes, that'd be a good idea.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you, that's cut you off.
Oh, no.
Quick show of hands, who might, whether you're ever done it or not before, you might want to go to a couple-hour Skywarn training sometime. Okay, a third to a half. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, I'm almost.
Okay,
Yeah,
maybe-
two more slides here. Let's show you. This is a typical summertime weather pattern. This is what we're getting today here over the next several days. We're going to start drifting back into a very frothy type of springtime pattern next week. We do get thunderstorm. This is actually the lightning detection system Alpacella, which is actually a Finnish company. And we do have, elevated lightning activity as compared to the East Coast, but we do get it. Dangerous lightning. Your reports are essential, they're real time, and it may save lives. Aids in warning decisions, calibrates our surroundings, at least in terms of what we're seeing here, at least in terms of what phenomenon. Alert events, we can alert events and partners with your information much clearly. And then we have future research. And when I was up in my time up in Spokane, fires did a phenomenal job, and we actually were able to get some people out of the grandstands at a I think it was a country concert. About a half hour, a few minutes before 50-mile-an-hour winds to the grandstand. What's your report? Tornadoes, funnel clouds, winds over 40 miles an hour. Wind damage, hail, flooding, dense fog, dust storms, and even travel issues. Even if you're going over the Sierra, that's usually a good indication. And then really very often. Timely reports are essential to water process. What's that? So we severe hail is determined by diameter by 1 inch or greater. 1 inch or greater. Any kind of hail, actually around here, any type of even pea-sized hail is significant. Because one of the pictures I got from that fire captain friend of mine up here in Lansing County, they had severe thunderstorm through into Sacramento. They warned on a severe thunderstorm into their county. One of the times running in this class, and there was about 6 inches of precise all over the place. It's just almost like a system.
Parking down to Reno, and they went through a hailstorm that the whole world was like, yeah, that was snow.
Yeah, the same thing Parkland City, and then we have a severe thunderstorm through there. That's nice.
Yeah.
Now, the picture is a little dated. It's a little different in there. We do have a radio operating area within the little office. And then, if after all this, you're still there for let me just thank you. So that was on the slide here. You can check us out in the, on Skywarn page. You can go to weather.gov Reno local programs site. Anyway, you need someone to help you at least point in that direction. Let's get moving. How's meteorology? All of them.
Right, I have one radio but not meteorology question, and this is not to shame her. She was a general.
Yes.
And she got her license. So we all love her to get her license again and help her out.
Thank you so much for being able to present this.
If you were a general, this technician, you were a general.
Well,
Say it again.
If you let your license lapse. Let's say you were extra.
Yeah, I thought you had to redo the whole.
No. Technician. And then you get your own license.
You get to restore your general.
sign me up.
Help you there. I do have one more tactical question. As far as training before, when would be the best time to do it other than any time? Would it be before winter, fall? Your schedule.
Well, right now for the summer, time, probably a little late for the winter.
Like fall, like September, October?
Yeah, I mean, this is a little bit of a short notice with this one here, it's helping out.
Yeah, maybe
small
September,
project
October.
like seniors doing the research. So, that's only because
Yeah.
Okay, Dan is going to be around a few minutes for food. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Thanks. Don't leave yet.
No, I'm not.
Okay, so this completes the presentation portion of the STARS monthly meeting for for July 1st, and there was, AF6A says he would like to do it. Okay, thanks, everyone. Let me stop the recording. Have a great holiday weekend.